Okay, we talked about some fractions in the real world. Now we're going to talk about using place values to write terminating decimals, that means decimals that end and don't repeat, as equivalent fractions. Using place values. Who remembers place value? I want you to write a number on the top of your paper. Okay. This is just a number I made up, and we're going to use it to help us remember place value. I want you to think about what each place value is. Now that we remember which place value is which, go ahead and write them to the side so that it can be helpful to you for later. Now we're going to talk about using those place values to actually look at decimals as equivalent fractions. So starting with the number 2.25, I know that 2.25 is 2 and 0.25. And we were just reminded that this 5 is in the hundredths place. So I can describe this as 2 and 25 hundredths. I want you to write down 25 hundredths because the 5 is in the hundredths place, so that tells us it's 25 hundredths, which can be written as the fraction 25 over 100. You are probably also thinking that this fraction in its simplest form is 2 and a fourth. One way that we can simplify this is by factoring that 2 and 25 hundredths is the same thing as 2 with 5 times 5 and 5 times 2 times 5 times 2 because that's 10 times 10. We can eliminate the 5s and we should be left with 1 on top and 4 on bottom. Don't worry if you didn't get that. That's just kind of to help you factor things a little faster to make a simplified fraction. All right. The value of the number 2.025, how can this number be written as a mixed number? 2.025 has 5 in the thousandths place. In the thousandths place. So 0.25 thousandths, you don't need this 0. And then when I rewrite the fraction in its simplest form, I'm going to change this fraction into a simpler fraction. So 2 and 25 thousandths. I can divide the top and bottom by 5 or even by 25, and that's going to make it the most simplest, the most simple. Dividing by 25, I get 1 on top, and 1,000 divided by 25 is 40. And we'll talk about how to factor this for a second. 25 over 1,000 is 5 times 5 over, should be 10 times 10 times 10, 5 times 2 times 5 times 2 times 5 times 2. So I know I can get rid of a 5 on top and on bottom, and I'm left with 8 times 5 on bottom, which is 40. All right. Flip the page, please. This one says, use place value to convert each terminating decimal to a fraction. Then rewrite each fraction in its simplest form. We're going to convert, and then we're going to rewrite it in its simplest form. So this one is 0.218. I'm checking to see what the place value is of the very last number. What's the last number in this number? The last digit is 8, and that is in the tenths, hundredths, thousandths place, 218 thousandths, 218 thousandths. I can simplify this by dividing by 2 on top and bottom. And I get 109 over 500. And that's actually as simple as it's going to get. If you're ever not sure about how to simplify, and it's kind of a struggle for you to figure out what number you should be simplifying by, try dividing the top and bottom by 2. Pretty often, that's a good bet, especially if you know it ends in a number that's divisible by 2, like 8 or 0. It's definitely going to be a divisible by 2 number. So try that first.